Hello, squires and fancy viewers. First tale of the year. How good it feels. That one took time to come out because, well, I had to hit the books to make sure I was not down a strange rabbit hole. See, I was celebrating the new year in a small, discreet tavern in Chartres. I chose it deliberately, for I've never cared for grand parties in noble houses. That's where I noticed a peculiar human gentleman. He was dressed like a nobleman, yet celebrated like a commoner, drinking like a half-giant, shouting like a dwarf, and eating like a lion man of the feline folk. Needless to say, I was impressed. When he stepped outside to relieve himself, I noticed a couple of ill-intentioned figures following him. I followed as well, ready to intervene, only to discover no help was needed. He fought like a goblin. Low blows, biting, brutal punches, the whole affair. My curiosity was piqued, and over one last drink, he told me his story. His name is Flynn. He grew up in Brightflow, spending most of his childhood in the Waveling orphanage. His only possession from that time was a wooden medallion engraved with a lion and the initials YM. He eventually fled after realizing that, like others before him, he would soon be sold in secret. On the road, he joined a band of criminals calling themselves the Highwaymen, acting near Mistvale. By his own account, those were prosperous days. One night, the group ambushed a cheerful, well-dressed man wearing a magnificent white hat and dark spectacles on his face. He carried no money, but looked wealthy enough to ransom, so they kept him captive. During a night's watch, Flynn spoke with the man, who introduced himself as Red, a hat maker. Red claimed he could grant wishes, provided that they were reasonable and within his power. In exchange, he required a single payment, a unique, unworn hat, unless the wearer themselves made it unique. He added one condition: should he grant a wish, he would someday return to ask for a small favor. Flynn dismissed the tale as nonsense. Days passed with no ransom. The band continued robbing travelers, keeping Red caged. During one raid on a nobleman's carriage, they acquired a splendid hat adorned with an albino peacock feather. For a laugh, Flynn tossed the hat to Red back in their lair and said, "I wish to be free of this life of crime and become a nobleman." Red examined the hat, chuckled warmly, and nodded. The next morning, Red was gone. Clear signs of escape, though none had heard a thing. Flynn's companions blamed him and threatened his life, forcing him to flee. Weeks later, while drinking away his misery from tavern to tavern, a notary found him. A noble house in Chartres had lost its final elder, and an investigation revealed Flynn as the last descendant. All he needed to prove his claim was his family medallion, the very wooden trinket he had kept out of nostalgia. It was enough of a proof. Flynn took his rightful place among the nobility of Chartres, leaving his criminal past behind. At first, I didn't believe a word of it, but my investigation confirmed everything. His former companions vanished shortly after the notary's visit. The inquiry itself was legitimate. And, as for the hat maker, records describe a figure like him wandering Elderia for over 2 centuries, granting wishes in exchange for unique hats. It goes from a humble shoemaker who became king in Tirishval to a group of nobodies who achieved the status of legendary warriors and adventurers in Valonqar. And most of them confirmed that the hat maker returned asking for something simple each time: an introduction to someone, food and shelter for a short stay for he and his friends, and, on some occasions, a fighting hand to vanquish someone or something. On some other occasions, though, people approached by the hat maker received their wish but vanished few days after he returned in their lives, as if they refused to honor their word. So, what is he really? A fae? A devil? Simply a well-connected gentleman with an oversized savior complex? Who knows? One thing's for sure, I know exactly what to ask him if I ever meet him. But what about you, squires? Pray tell, I'm curious. 'Twas the Knight from Elderia, delighted to serve.